evening. Thank you for joining us. We like to begin by having you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I can have you rise and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. And before we begin the rest of our meeting, I want to just share with you a few thoughts. We're trying to have some things ready to clarify what we do and the decorum in our meetings. We appreciate that you've taken time out of your schedule to join us tonight for this meeting and to participate and see your local government at work. I'd mention that sometimes people wonder, we move through things pretty quickly in our formal meeting and you think, wait a second, there was no discussion. Well, all the discussion takes place in the afternoon across the hall. And if it wasn't this afternoon, it was a couple of weeks ago in the afternoon. If you ever want to see us really having thorough discussion, tune in on television or on your internet and you can see that. That's where a lot of the discussion takes place. Then this is where the formal things take place. To start the meeting, I'd like to lay out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and safe with participating. Please be respectful during other people's comments. We ask you to avoid cheering or jeering because that could make someone feel intimidated. Please also help take care of our historic meeting room by not standing on the furniture or leaning against any of the decorative pieces like the frame that frames Brigham Young. That's important. If you have a sign or a prop or other piece of equipment like video equipment, please make sure that it doesn't cause disruption or block the view of those around you. Signs wider than your chair need to be displayed out in the hall rather than where you're sitting. And also items like sticks or dowels are not allowed, as well as any kind of weapon. Please do not approach the dais up here. If you have something to pass out to the council, we have a staff member who will assist you. Can I have staff members raise their hands so you can know? Any of these people will be happy to collect anything that you have to share. Our staff is here to help you. They're great at that. And if you need any assistance or have questions, raise your hand and a staff person can come help you. Also, we would like to note that we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time is not very much. And often people feel frustrated that they don't get to say more than that. But you can outline your thoughts and then feel free to visit our website or refer to the contact information sheet that is on the back of the speaker cards, and someone will reach out to you. And you will also find other ways by which you can share your comment via email, phone, or dropping by the office. So just to clarify all of that. And also I'd remind you that when you share your 2 minutes of comments, this isn't a time for question and answer. You just get to talk to us and it's our job to listen. So we appreciate your following along on that. And with that, our first item of business is to approve our minutes of last week.
Move for approval.
Second.
And I probably need to give the date of that. That was April 12th of 2016. We have a motion by Council Member Rogers and a second by Council Member Luke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I believe we also need to approve the minutes of Tuesday, March 15th, 2016 and Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016.
Thank you very much,
And
because we didn't have a full formal meeting.
For both the formal and work sessions.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I move approval.
Motion has been made by Council Member Mendenhall, seconded by Council Member Luke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes stand approved. We'll now begin with our public hearings. And I have here a list of cards that those who would like to speak, if you'd like to speak, fill out a card and it will be brought to me by a member of our staff. And what I will do is read your name and then I'll read two names. First person comes up, the second person be ready to speak, and we'll just work our way through the cards. Remind you that you have 2 minutes and we have a timekeeper who will let you know when your time is completed. First person to speak this evening about Harvey Milk Boulevard is David Worthland. And as Mr. Worthland comes up, I'd remind you that Right now, we are only talking about Harvey Milk Boulevard. If you have other things you want to talk about, there will be another opportunity. And following him will be Christian Harrison. Thank you, Mr. Worthland.
Thank you very much. Fellow council members, I'm here to speak against this proposal for two reasons. First, before we go outside to honor someone who has been primarily active on a city level in San Francisco, we should really look at our own heritage here in this great city of leaders who have done so much to give us the great city that we now enjoy. Just think with me about the leaders like Didi Corradini, or Jake Garn, or Ted Wilson, or many others that we could mention who have done so much and dedicated their lives and sacrificed their time to build this great city and to give us a government that is fair to all and provides an effective and efficient city government that we take now for granted. I feel that any of these wonderful community leaders deserve this honor much more than an outside candidate that now is proposed. Secondly, when such a wonderful honor is given, it should be a unifier and increase the cohesiveness of the citizenry of this community. And I would suggest that honoring this candidate, who is an outsider with no ties to this community, would not fill that objective of enhancing the unity and cohesiveness of this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christian Harrison, followed by Ralph Pankey.
Good evening. I'm a fan of the proposal to name Salt Lake City Street after civil rights hero Harvey Milk. It's a brilliant idea, and I hope the city moves forward with it. That said, it's the right idea for the wrong street. We could certainly slap a Harvey Milk sticker on a few street signs and update Google Maps, which is, frankly, all we've done in the past. But it shows, right? Who calls King Boulevard King Boulevard? Who calls Chavez Boulevard Chavez Boulevard? And I think we've really missed a wonderful opportunity in these and other cases. No, I think we should do better than a sticker, but not at the expense of the neighborhoods that have built their identities on the name of 9th South, 9th and 9th, 9th and Central 9th. Their identities are literally tied to the name of the street, lucky enough to host them. But honoring Harvey doesn't have to come at the expense of the people who live and work in these wonderful neighborhoods. We could simply choose a different street. There's nothing magical about 9th South. Let's face it, queer persons have lived, worked, and done business on every street in this city. Here are three alternatives for your consideration. 21st South connects Parley's Canyon to the Jordan River, the gate of our city, to our lifeblood. 13th South runs from California towards the morning sun, a beautiful symbol of Harvey's life. 3rd North runs from the Capitol Building to Constitution Park. So let's do this right. Let's honor Harvey Milk without shortchanging the neighborhoods who've hung their hats on the name of 9th South. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ralph Pankey, followed by Joe Lim.
Thank you for the opportunity to express my views. I'm against naming 9th South, and I'm not sure why 9th South was chosen, but this very weekend I got a magazine from the Salt Lake City Downtown Alliance, and it says, celebrating 25 people who have helped build downtown. 3 of former mayors are part of the 25 that are here. Why we need to go to San Francisco to get someone to name a street after is strange to me. Just last week, we honored a giant in the city. We do it every year. Sorry, Harvey Milk has never been mentioned. Now, 9th South. What is significant about 9th South? The Days of 47 parade finishes on 9th South. It goes up to Liberty Park. Those are our pioneers. not San Francisco's pioneers. So if you want to choose a different location, I have a few in mind, like my predecessor. I think the boulevard going into the new prison would be a very nice name for Harvey Milk Boulevard. And if you need other suggestions, I'm open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe Lim, followed by Bruce. I'm going to really try hard with your name. Osojanic? Please correct me when you come up.
Thank you for the few moments. I am opposed to rechanging the name. The idea that we change names is not is contrary to the traditions of our city. We have an easy numbering system that we know where we're at and we'll know where we're going. Now we have such addresses as 341 John Stockton Street, and it is in print. And although we have an official street name, we do use the new names that are given. Secondly, when we rename a street or a building or a school, that individual should meet the burdens of time. They should be someone not only known to us, but will be known for the future and their contributions. They haven't, and this individual has not met that burden. Thirdly, as elected officials, you have the responsibility and the burden to represent all the people of the city. There are individuals in this city who are on fixed incomes. Every year there's increased taxes, increased burdens upon them in medical and insurance. And I feel the changing of streets to any street is an expenditure that need not be spent. That money can be spent better in other places in lieu of street signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Osojnak, will you help me?
Osojnak.
Osojnak. I couldn't read your writing very well. Thank you so much.
It happens
And
anytime
he'll be
I
followed
come up
by
and talk.
Troy Williams.
My location is on 9th South, and I've been there since 1979. And the council members have asked me to speak on the topic in the past and also be a valuable contribution to you in these chambers here. To make this very brief, 900 South is a strong identity to the community and as the edge of town of days ago and is honored so annually. 900 South doesn't need a name change, or if it did, call it Parade Street, as the runners and representatives, which were just run here the last weekend, of the state use this street for a joyous nature to all. I didn't want to really see 900 South to be known as Milk Street, or with someone of no connection to Salt Lake City or to Utah. And the point is, what about the cost? What about the cost of the signs? What about the cost of the installation, the cost of maintenance as well? We have a problem already, first to fix 300 South with the fix for fire protection that's on there. Plus we could talk about how expensive it is even to park downtown. Let's vote for something that's going to be just a contribution for all of us in this city. And I believe that we would really take and make a better recommendation there. If you have the streets which we want to be used to represent this group here that wants to have this renamed, take it on the Great Pride March and honor that for a day and be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Troy Williams, followed by Marla Foote.
Hi, thank you. I'm the Executive Director of Equality Utah. In 2008, the LGBT community was devastated by the passage of Proposition 8. It was a moment that took all of us by surprise. Later in 2009, the film Milk with Sean Penn was released in theaters, and Harvey Milk was brought back into the national consciousness to buoy us all. In the late 70s, Harvey rallied Californians together to defeat Proposition 6 that would have outlawed gay public school teachers. Harvey organized our community, built coalitions with diverse groups, and ultimately defeated the discriminatory proposition. In 2008, Prop 8 again re-energized our movement. Harvey was back with us, in spirit, guiding us all through the dark night. Harvey believed that if struggling LGBTQ kids could see out gay men and women elected to public office, that would give them the hope of a positive future. And wow, if Harvey could see Salt Lake City today with an out gay senator, 2 out gay councilmen, and a lesbian mayor. Harvey's vision, you are living Harvey's vision for us all. Milk is an icon comparable to Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Cesar Chavez. It is fitting that he take his place in a street next to them. Harvey's name on a prominent street in Salt Lake City will send a loud message that Salt Lake City values inclusion and diversity. And more importantly, it will also stand as a beacon of hope to LGBTQ youth and other marginalized teens that there is a positive future, that they too can aspire to public office, and that more importantly, they too can change the world. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Marla Foote, followed by Matthew Landis.
Thank you for this opportunity of voicing my opinion. I hope the mayor and city council are not using their positions as elected officials to push through a personal agenda or special interests only agendas. If we're going to be changing Utah street names to honor people, shouldn't it be people with Utah ties that had an impact on the people of Utah as well as the nation, and not those with no real Utah ties and an impact for just a majority of the population? People like Philo Farnsworth, who invented the television, Howard Hall, who invented synthetic diamonds, Alvino Ray, who invented the pedal steel guitar, all had Utah ties, and their inventions were important to the whole world, but I don't hear anyone renaming streets to honor them. Councilman Penfold states this is a personal thing for him, that Mr. Milk influenced him to become what he is today. Well, I too have had people that have influenced my life, but I don't try to push my personal feelings and agenda off on others who do not feel the same as I. Most people I have talked to, even nationwide, with my co-workers, have never heard of Mr. Milk. And I don't know who don't know who he was, and don't really care to know, since he's had no impact on them or their life. It does not seem that important to many except the mayor, Councilman Penfold, and some of the LGBT community, but not all of that community. I have also discussed this with friends that are part of the LGBT community, and they have seen no reason to change the name of 9th South to honor Mr. Milk. Since it is not someone well known to the majority of the citizens, I feel very wrong to push this very personal agenda out to a few on all of us. Since it seems to only be important to some of the LGBT community, why not change the name of the LGBT Community Center to Harvey Milk Community Center, or take the intersection of 9th and 9th and change it? If it must be done to a street, now why not rename a new street in a new subdivision and leave 9th South alone?
Thank you. Bryce Hurst, followed by Nikki Boyer.
I think you skipped over me.
I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
Matthew, you're up.
There's 2 questions. Why 900 South? Well, 900 South is a thriving and vibrant street in this city. From the new homeless youth shelter that's being built on the west side, to Central 9th, to the small businesses from State Street to 5th East, to Liberty Park, and to 9th and 9th. 9th and 9th is a great example where LGBT citizens of Salt Lake helped with its renaissance back in the 80s and 90s with businesses like the Coffee Garden and Cahoots, the antique store that was there, Ray's Flower Shop, as well as Centered City Yoga. It's the perfect street to represent the LGBT community and the contributions that my community have made to the community at large. So why Harvey Milk when so many local heroes should be honored and have their own streets? Well, that's a good point. One of the great things about Salt Lake is that it's a city filled with streets that have no name. Give them all a name. Give everybody that deserves to be honored their own street. Why not? There's plenty to go around. Harvey is arguably the most recognizable pioneer for LGBT rights throughout the world. Naming a street for him would send a message to the visitors and the people thinking about relocating to the city that Salt Lake is a welcoming and inclusive place. It would also send a message to the young people of Utah and to the citizens of Salt Lake that we value them and they have a place here. Harvey Milk said, "All men are created equal. No matter how hard they try, they can never erase those words." That is what America is about. Harvey Milk died for what he believed, and please vote yes to Harvey Milk Boulevard.
Thank you very much. Bryce Hurst, followed by Nikki Boyer.
Mayor Biskupski, City Council members, and community members, I'm here to speak to the power of Harvey Milk, a man I consider to be a personal hero, and also to speak in favor of Harvey Milk Boulevard. The audience I address is in no small way a powerful result of what Harvey had hoped to achieve. Out, proud, and powerful members of the LGBT community working to make their city better for all people, regardless of class and status. Harvey Milk is the kind of man that I aspire to be, a man who had a vision for a better community, a community where all people, gay, straight, black, white, religious, irreligious, belonged, felt safe, and were invested in growing their community. Harvey Milk once said, "Without hope, not only the gays, but the blacks, the seniors, the handicapped, the us's will give up." But because if a gay person can make it, the doors are open to everyone. Harvey Milk does not just represent the struggle for gay rights and equality. He represents the fight for strong communities. He represents bridging differences to form coalitions to work towards common goals. He represents a hope that all people will have the opportunities open to the advantaged and the privileged. Harvey Milk has inspired my desires to be an advocate in my community, to work with disadvantaged and disenfranchised populations. Harvey Milk built broad support for gay rights by reaching out to groups who normally would be oppositional and finding out what was important to them. That's the power of Harvey Milk. Salt Lake City in and of itself is a queer city. It was founded by a people who prided themselves on being peculiar, and it now ranks as one of the gayest cities in America. The politics and people of this great city are queer in every way. I can think of no better way to embrace that queer history than by memorializing a man who urged us to come out of our closets, what he called the most political thing you can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki Boyer, followed by Jack Winward.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I live on 9th South, and I can tell you quite frankly, I would be proud to live on Harvey Milk Boulevard. I've lived there for 30 years. It's a pretty gay neighborhood. The house on the corner from me in the 1800s was a gay boarding house. 1800s, early 1900s, it's still standing. So we've always been kind of a gay neighborhood. Within the 2 blocks around my house, out of the 24 houses, 13 of them have gay families. I think they would also be honored to have Harvey Milk's name on our street. Thank you.
Jack Winward, followed by Mike Marcus.
Thank you, council members, for your time and consideration. I'm a homeowner and a resident of Salt Lake City, and I'm incredibly interested in honoring and having 9th South named in honor of Harvey Milk. This incredibly brave man is a hero to every resident of this city. Every person in Salt Lake City has been benefited incredibly in the amount of equality that they have because of the actions of Harvey Milk. Mr. Milk was a hero, a pioneer to all of us. And to a few points, the city actually has a long history of renaming streets. I have a long list of streets in the Marmalade that can attest to that. So I also want to say that I don't believe that this is a personal mission by Mayor Biskupski or Stan Penfold, Derek Kitchen, or Troy Williams. I actually requested this name change because of the experience that I've had. I too, at one point, did not like Harvey Milk. I had spite for Harvey Milk. And through my coming out process, learned of the heroism that he had, the darkness of the world that he grew up in, and that he could light that candle for all of us. And because of that, I really request strongly that you rename 9th South Harvey Milk Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Marcus, followed by Donna Weinholtz.
You validate parking. I have a retail building on 9th and 9th. I have a retail store, Cahoots, that's a gay-orientated store. And why is this mean anything to me? Growing up in Idaho in the 60s and that, I was told that all the black people and the homosexuals need to be sent to some island to live. And that if my dad, if he ever had a gay kid, he'd kill him. And so I was scared. To be gay is something that I've always hidden. I've never been able to stand up. Troy asked me to come here and speak, and it scares me to death to do it today. But because of people like Harvey Milk that stood up and fought that battle when I was too afraid to, I'm honored to have the street named Harvey Milk. And when the postage stamp came out, I felt the same way. Can I put it on my mail or not? So anyhow, I'm very supportive of it and proud to have it there.
Thank you. Donna Weinholtz, followed by Barb Guy.
Good evening, esteemed council, honorable mayor. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Equality Utah, and with respect to everyone who has spoken before me that has a different view than I do, and I definitely support naming this street after Harvey Milk. And all of us locals know that Salt Lake City is a world-class city. We all know that. And as we get larger, we have growing pains. Look all over this city. It is growing and growing, and there will be more and more folks coming to Salt Lake City, to Utah in particular. And as we become that much larger and we extend ourselves out into the world, I believe that we have to be a welcoming sign and a light on for every person who would come here, of any persuasion, any stripe, no matter who you are. Harvey Milk is a civil rights icon known the world over. His very name has invoked in instances for individuals who are faltering in this life. His very name has given individuals hope to remain alive in this world and to do good things and to follow in his good works. So therefore, I support this wholeheartedly, and I hope that you will vote for it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Marina Gomberg.
Members of the council, Mayor Biskupski. My name is Barb Guy. When I was in high school, my best friend's big brother, Tom, a young gay man living in San Francisco, was visiting Salt Lake, and he took us to our first independent film at the Tower Theater. Not long after that, Tom was back home in San Francisco when senseless gun violence took Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone. In 1984, the documentary film, The Times of Harvey Milk, ripped my heart out. I was 24, a native of Salt Lake City, a KRCL volunteer, a young adult with gay and lesbian friends. Many more fine films have ripped my heart out since then. But each time hearts are devastated by too much reality about our world, they come back stronger and braver. That's why the bond between film and social justice is so strong. As operators of the Tower Theater and the Broadway, Salt Lake Film Society would be proud to be able to say the Tower is located on Harvey Milk Boulevard. I hope our city chooses to honor an LGBT hero who, like other great heroes, inspired those around him during his life, but through the passage of time has morphed beyond his original demographic to inspire people who are nothing like him, people who never knew him in real life, people who can learn and grow and be inspired and have their hearts ripped out by incredibly important human stories, including the story of Harvey Milk.
Thank you, Ms. Guy. Marina Gomberg, followed by Jennifer Ellen, and I can't read your name, so please tell me when you come up.
Hi, I'm Marina Gomberg. I'm the board chair for Equality Utah. And while I should probably speak more broadly about why this is really important to name 9th South Harvey Milk Boulevard, I think Troy did a fantastic job, as have others, so I'm going to talk more personally. I grew up here in Utah and was one of those kids that I didn't know I was made for this world. I didn't know why I was so different, and I think that I lacked enough reflections of myself in the community. But what Harvey Milk has done, and what his message of hope, this narrative of hope that he created, has inspired people like you all sitting here and others to come out and to love who we are and to appreciate the beauty of the diversity that is a part of, being a different having a different sexuality or being a different kind of human being. And his legacy changed my life. Learning about him truly saved my life, and I think that it's really, really important that we look at the cost. Yeah, the cost of having street signs is one thing, but the cost of having kids not know that they are loved is far greater. And in fact, my wife and I are excited to welcome little Harvey. We've got a baby on the way that we're naming after Harvey due to his impact on our lives this June. So thank you so much for your consideration. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and good luck with the delivery. Jennifer, will you tell us your last name, please? And then Dana Baptiste.
My last name is Mueller.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I have a space that I rent on 9th South, and so though I don't own the building, I am a business owner on 9th South. And one of the things that led me to really be inspired to speak in favor of this being named Harvey Milk Boulevard is the idea of community building and the legacy of civic engagement that Harvey Milk was such a proponent for. And I think for me, succinctly, in order for there to be community building and civic engagement, everybody has to have a place at the table. And for so many years, the LGBT community and the queer community has been marginalized. And I think so many people, as you've heard their personal stories, have felt this sense of marginalization. And when you feel marginalized, you are less likely to engage civically. You are less likely to feel that you have a voice and that you have a place at the table. And so by naming this street Harvey Milk Boulevard, this tells people all across the city that have felt historically marginalized and disengaged from the civic engagement process that they have a place at the table, that their voice will be heard. And that is what I love about democracy. So please vote for this. Thank you very much.
Dana Baptiste, followed by Lex Scott.
Dana Baptiste, thank you. Thanks. I own two businesses on 9th South. One is Centered City Yoga, that's been mentioned already. And I would say over half of us that operate our businesses out of there are of LGBT, queer affiliation. And then In Body Academy, which is down a little further on the other side of the park. And the reason why I'm actually kind of an outsider, just like Harvey Milk when he moved. He's actually a New York Jew that moved to San Francisco. And he, for me, growing up in the Bay Area, I was young, but his influence was felt, incredibly felt, in my neighborhood in Oakland. And at the time, being so young, I wasn't aware of the politics exactly, but I knew that what he was, even more than being an advocate for LGBT community, was an advocate for strong neighborhoods and for building the identity of disenfranchised people to where they felt important. I think 9th and 9th is that kind of a community where we all come together and we actually, our businesses support each other People from the neighborhood support us. We have a very strong identity. I'm not attached to the idea of 9th and 9th. I would love to have my business. I would love to say that my business is on Harvey Milk Boulevard. As far as the neighborhood a little further west, it's an up-and-coming neighborhood. I really believe that if we were to name the street Harvey Milk Boulevard, it would be, as Jennifer Ellen said, such a great way for us to start to invite people who do feel disenfranchised and forgotten about, and maybe people who have felt swept under the rug, to actually have a voice. And one last thing, coming from California, as a Californian, to Utah, I'm out of time. I feel like this would be a great move politically and economically for the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lex Scott, followed by William Tuttle. Okay. Fill out? Okay, we'll get you next round then. William Tuttle, followed by Ann Cannon.
Hi, my name is Bob Tuttle, and it's William Robert, so I don't know how many people here in the room actually knew Harvey, but I did. In fact, Harvey and I were very close. And I don't know how many people here in the room knew that he ran for his office 3 times before he was finally able to win that office. And he did that by building coalitions with the African American community, the Asian community, all these different diverse communities in San Francisco, plus the unions. He organized a strike against Coors Beer in San Francisco on behalf of the Teamsters, and a lot of the bars in San Francisco still to this day don't serve Coors Beer. So when I hear people get up here and say that Harvey doesn't have a connection to this city or this state, he does, right here, and with a lot of other people too. And when I hear people say that he's an outsider and doesn't represent our place, or he's from someplace else, but the fact is that he represented everybody, and that's how he was finally able to get elected after 3 tries, by making friends, building bridges, and making political alliances. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Ann Cannon, followed by David Lewis IV.
Thank you. I'm here to oppose the naming of any street for Harvey Milk. I feel, much as others who have spoken previously, about the need to address other persons in our state who have made equally great contributions to our community, our civil rights, our opportunities to build community, to represent all of the persons who choose to live here. And I feel we don't need another street named after a specific individual with such a focus as Harvey Milk represents. I think we need to have, perhaps, consideration of many others in the past and the present who have served our community and our state and our nation in ways that are equally important in the lives of the majority of the people that our city represents. So that is my comment, and I ask you to reconsider or not consider this proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Cannon. David Lewis IV, followed by Christopher Wharton. And Christopher is my last card. If anyone else would like to speak on this, please fill out a blue card. It says Harvey Milk, and we'll make sure we hear from you. Thanks.
Good afternoon. So my name is David Lewis IV, and I live just a couple blocks down here in Salt Lake City. I just got done with school and heard that this was going on, so I don't have an elaborate speech like most people, but I do have a voice, and I wanted to be able to just share that I would prefer not to have a street named after somebody that does represent something that is contrary to what I feel that we want to be able to portray. So with all respect to everybody and every belief, I just wanted to be able to mention that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Christopher Wharton, followed by Connell O'Donovan.
Hello, City Council and Mayor Biskupski. I'm from Salt Lake City. I live in Salt Lake City and own a small business here. I'm a solo practice attorney. I'm also on the Salt Lake City Human Rights Commission, although I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and not on behalf of the commission. I lived on 9th South for a number of years. That's where I was living when I came out. Salt Lake City has a tradition of honoring civil rights leaders that may not have had, their movements may not have started here in Salt Lake City, but their civil rights movements impacted people all over this country and all over the world, and even people here in Utah. So I think that it's very fitting to add Harvey Milk to that tradition. I'd also note that for people that are concerned that this is driven by a personal agenda, that talk of renaming 9th South is something that dates farther back than Jackie Biskupski's administration or Derek Kitchen's election. This is something that the community has been asking for a long time, and it's something that the community has been asking for in spite or perhaps asking for more resoundingly because of those victories. And I've heard a lot of people say that there are a lot of other names out there, and I have to just echo the words of one of the previous speakers, I think it was you, Michael, that said that there are a lot of streets out there, and we have a lot of numbers, and we can add a lot of names to those streets as well. To say that other people are deserving of streets is not really an argument against naming this street Harvey Milk Boulevard, and I would strongly encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Connell O'Donovan, and that's my final card on this. Not quite. A few more. It's okay. Just keep them coming.
Good evening. I never met Harvey, but he certainly has been a huge influence in my life. I read both his biographies and I've seen a couple of documentaries about his life. And then I became a radical queer activist, inspired by him. And because of that, because of him and the example that he set, I helped organize and I led the very first two queer pride marches here in Salt Lake City in 1990. And then again in 1991. Sorry, I just got a little nervous. The first year we marched from the Capitol to Bravenel Hall. The second year we marched from the Capitol to the steps of this building back behind here. And when we got here, all 400 of us, if there were that many, we were met by about 20 neo-Nazi skinheads who were chanting, "Kill the fag." I'm the one with the bullhorn leading the parade down the street. So that was really awful. They had signs saying, "Thank God for AIDS," and they were chanting Sieg Heil and doing the Nazi salute. It was pretty awful. And I was terrified. That's the most frightened I've ever been in my life, because I thought, if one of them has a gun and is angry enough, they're going to shoot the fag with the bullhorn, you know. And but I didn't back down. I stood my place, and we proceeded with having a few speeches and celebrating the fact that we are here and that we deserve a place at the table. And I think this is a marvelous example of honoring all the queer pioneers that have gone before us and who are still out in the streets. And I hope you do vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Liba, followed by, I think it's Muriel Turpin, but it's kind of hard to read the writing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Leba, and I'm not an activist. In fact, this is my first city council building meeting. I walked to the building across the street at first, and they had to direct me here. I'm a biomedical engineer, and so this is kind of new to me, but I purchased a home about a year ago in the Central 9th area, and I live on 9th South, and I believe that this would be a great idea to rename 9th South Harvey Milk Boulevard for a variety of reasons. I think the area embraces diversity, and I think that using Harvey Milk Boulevard's name, or Harvey Milk's name, would help with those that are interested in moving to the area or the community as a whole. And so I just wanted to speak out briefly and let you know that I was interested in renaming the street. Thanks.
Thank you. Muriel Turpin, will you correct me if I get it wrong?
I'm Michelle Turpin, not Muriel.
Thank you.
And I didn't prepare to speak tonight, but I just wanted to say, after hearing everybody else, that I first became a gay activist in the Tribune when the ACLU started the Gay and Lesbian Task Force, and I showed up on the front page. And the following week, I got death threats in my mailbox at my home. And that was the point where I thought, okay, am I going to continue my career as a gay activist, or am I going to go run into the closet and buy a house that has high security? And Harvey Milk and the memory of Harvey Milk is what inspired me to keep going. And since then, that was the early 90s. I know that a lot of people in this room, I've seen them, we've received numerous death threats for doing the work that we do. And we're still here, we're alive and here to tell about it, unlike Harvey Milk. So Harvey, to me, is Martin Luther King for the LGBT community, and he deserves a street in Salt Lake City named after him. So I hope you take that into consideration.
Thank you very much. Deanne Tilton, followed by Kate Kelly.
Mayor Biskupski, council members. Harvey Milk and the entire gay rights movement has played a pivotal role in my life as a survivor of sexual violence across my life. I was sexually abused at the hands of my father as a child. I was stalked as a teenager. I was raped twice in college. Watching the gay rights movement evolve over the past 12 years, where people come out about their identity and walk through and work and live in their communities as a gay or lesbian person or transgender LGBTQIAA, inspired me to imagine a vision where survivors of sexual violence can operate in our communities as outed survivors and victims. We are doing well, and we're not. We are business leaders. We are in mental institutions. We are mothers, students, members of government. I ask you to consider naming this street to encourage those that are oppressed and silenced about their identities to feel emboldened to out themselves and demand to be seen and heard and listened to and learn from. I'm a longtime resident of the area, and my now 12-year-old son goes to the Salt Lake Arts Academy. We travel 900 South 4 times a day. I do. And he is out as gay. He's been out for a couple of years. He said to me when he was 4 years old, I said, "Oh, so-and-so has 2 moms." He said, "You know, when I grow up, I want to marry a boy. That's just how I feel about it." he knew at 4. I would be proud, and he is waiting to see if we're going to have Harvey Milk Boulevard that he can drive on his street. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Kelly, followed by Chandler Arnold. And if we have any more cards, now's the time.
My name is Kate. I'm an attorney, and I live and work in Salt Lake City. And I came out to support the initiative to name 900 South Harvey Milk Boulevard. I think that there are certain people who become icons of a movement, representatives of a people, and Harvey Milk is one of those individuals. I think Harvey Milk can serve to inspire and affirm the identities of Utahns and those from outside of Utah who identify as queer. But also, I think, there are a lot of people in Utah who probably don't know who Harvey Milk is, including people who have testified against this naming the street Harvey Milk Boulevard. But those people had to Google Harvey Milk tonight and figure out who he was and learn about his legacy and learn more about the queer movement in the United States. I think that would be good for Utah. I think that people who don't know who Harvey Milk is should learn about Harvey Milk, and having the street named after him will affirm the identities of people who already honor him and know about him, and will help people who don't know about him and don't know as much about the movement to learn more about it. So I think it will be both good for people who know about him and for people who don't.
Thank you very much. Chandler Arnold, I have no other cards. It's your chance. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chandler, and I'm very nervous. Sorry if I don't speak very coherently. I am a native of California as well as Utah. When I first moved here, I was 8. I grew up LDS, like any, suburban Californian moving to Utah. Normally they do. I had no idea who Harvey Milk was. And it was actually my prom night. I was with a lot of my friends and whatnot. Why in God's name we decided to watch Milk as our kind of pre-prom activity that happens here. It beats me, but we did. And I ended up bawling at the end of it. I had no idea who Harvey Milk was until that movie, and I will forever know who he is afterwards. That inspired me on so many levels, and it made me so sad that I was going to prom with a girl. So, as someone who has inspired me and will continue to inspire the younger generation, with a street named there, he may not be a local Utahn, but I mean, Utah state bird is the California seagull, so it's not like there's a lot, a lot of disconnect there. And as people learn about him, Harvey Milk Boulevard, and simply Googling that, it opens up a world of the national impact, then going down to the local leaders that we have here. It's just a trickle-down effect, and that right now I'm in AmeriCorps. I work on Michelle Obama's initiative to get kids and youth outdoors, but I work on a grassroots level, and it starts with that major entity, which then goes down to the bottom. And so I am in favor of this. As a millennial, of course, I would suggest a person of color, but you have to start somewhere, and this is a great start. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council about the naming of Harvey Milk Boulevard? All right.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to make a motion, and I'd like to speak to the motion if it should receive a second. I move that we close this public hearing, that we suspend our rules and adopt this resolution.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Penfold to close the public hearing and suspend the rules, and a second by Councilmember Luke. All in favor?
Before before we vote,
comment?
may I
Okay.
say just a few words, Madam Chair? I appreciate the time. I'd like to share why this is personal for me. In the early 80s, after becoming active as a volunteer in Salt Lake City politics as a neighborhood organizer, I had an opportunity to run for city council. And I had been invited to submit my name, and the primary consideration for me at the time was that even though I considered myself an out gay man, that I was afraid that that was going to be a focus of any campaign I might enter into. And I was not prepared, as Harvey was, to deal with that at the time. He won his election in 1977, and as the supervisor in San Francisco in his very, very short time before assassination, he was inspirational in defining what gay rights looks like for a municipality. And San Francisco was one of the first and most forward in implementing city policies that protected the rights of LGBTQ populations. In 1984, I saw the documentary on Harvey Milk, and it ripped my heart out. I remember two things. I remember how brave he was, and I also remember how he staged in a park stepping in dog poo because of the time he was sponsoring a piece of legislation that would require people to clean up after their dogs. And so he had a very carefully placed dog poo that he stepped in as part of the video opportunity. I relate to that because those who know me on the council know I also have a passion for dogs and dog parks. In 2009, Harvey Milk received the President's Medal of Honor, and that was the year I decided that I was going to run for City Council. It's a foreign concept to people who don't identify as out and gay, this idea of coming out, and for us it's a common question. When did you come out? Are you out? And it's as if there was a specific moment in time where people expect my life changed. And my response generally that has evolved over time is that coming out is a lifelong process. Because unless you are LGBT or Q, you really don't understand that every time that opportunity comes before you, you have to make an instant evaluation of how vulnerable do I want to be in this moment? Can I trust this person? What kind of response do I expect? Will I see love and embracement, or will I see shame pointed in my direction? And it really never goes away. So for me, the tradition that Salt Lake City has of honoring our civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez, the most important purpose of that street naming, although it may sound insignificant, is that it suggests to anyone invited to our city or who is familiar with our city that all are welcome here, that we have expectations in our community, that we are striving our very best to be as inclusive as we can possibly be. I can only imagine what it will look like to see a street name on 900 South and to have someone who has no idea that they can go to a place where they can feel love and compassion and identify that by the inclusiveness of a recognizable civil rights advocate who is well known internationally. For clarification, we are not changing the official name of this street. We are adding an honorary name. You can still say you live on 900 South, and in fact the U.S. Postal Service would probably appreciate that if you did. But this is a significant opportunity for us. The city will incur no cost. Equality Utah has started a Fund Me page that they are launching, I believe, tomorrow, that will provide all funds necessary for any street signs along this boulevard. So there is no cost to the city. And as many people have mentioned, and I hope that you hear that in the passion for the people that are here today speaking in favor, it's important to feel a part of the whole. It's important to acknowledge our significant leaders. And yes, we should take other opportunities to do other naming, and I totally support the council developing a process for doing that. But there's a reason we think local people are important as well, is because we want to honor and recognize them and feel like we're a little part of that community. Harvey Milk imagined a brave world where everybody had value and civil rights. And I like to imagine that world too. And if I could read the resolution into the record, Madam Chair, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, please.
Whereas the council finds that there is good cause to change the name of 900 South between 900 West and 11th East on an honorary basis without changing the official name or designation of the street, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Salt Lake City, Utah, that the name of 900 South between 900 West and 11th East shall be and hereby is changed on an honorary basis to Harvey Milk Boulevard. The effective date, this resolution shall become effective at the date of its first publication.
Board council members, are there any additional comments anyone would like to make before we take a vote? Councilmember Kitchen?
I just want to thank Councilmember Penfold for spearheading this and working with Equality Utah and all of our community members to get this rolling. Just briefly, I just want to mention that Harvey Milk is somebody who inspires hope in everybody, whether you're LGBTQ or from another marginalized community. And my hope is that the City Council can encourage more of this kind of engagement. And so I will be voting yes on this, and I'm so excited to do so. I've taken a little tally here of the local businesses and community members that live or work along 9th South who are in favor of this. And myself, I'm about to open up a business on 9th South and Jefferson Street, which is between West Temple and 2nd West. And I'm thrilled to be able to open my business on Harvey Milk Boulevard. So I just want to thank you one more time.
Thank you. Any other further comments from board members or council members? You can tell what I'm used to doing.
Madam Chair, I'd like to say a few things about this. My reluctancy in voting for this has nothing to do with Harvey Milk, but has to do with naming streets in general without having that policy discussion. And, you know, it might seem like a first world problem that we've got right here, right now, and that might be a good thing. You know, we're in a time where we can discuss things openly, and anybody that feels like they're unwelcome to Salt Lake City or, you know, just don't feel comfortable coming to Salt Lake City, I hope that this is an opportunity for them to feel welcome and feel like they can come to Salt Lake City, be involved, participate, get involved in your neighborhood. But I don't want to slight Harvey Milk at all, but I hope that the younger generations will look to Stan Penfold, look to Derek Kitchen for their willingness to get this motion passed. Stan, I admire you. I look up to you. The same with Derek. This is a wonderful council to serve on, to see that we're united in something that, you know, could be a little bit more difficult to talk about, but you can see the passion that people have, and this is renaming a street. Not even renaming a street, it's adding some stuff underneath it. And, you know, if people are going to be upset and take it to heart, it's not meant for that. It's meant to be open and inviting for everybody. So, Stan, why didn't you just tell me this a month ago? You know, when Stan, you know, initiated this back in, I think it was August or September. If he would have told me how much Harvey Milk had meant to him and how much he had influenced him, it wouldn't even have been an issue. I would have been behind it 100%. So.
Thank you, James. And I did, for a moment, consider Penfold Boulevard, but it just seemed really inappropriate. So.
Are there further comments from council members? Then I would like to make a brief comment. I will be supporting this resolution. Is it a resolution? And I would like to urge our chair and vice chair to make sure we do have that higher level discussion about, do we want to rename streets, and if we do, what is the correct criteria for making those changes? Because I know that's a conversation that maybe happened a number of years ago and then got dropped, and I think it's an important conversation to have at a higher level where a name is not attached to anyone, so that there isn't any prejudice that is involved in whoever that name is, that it's completely a high level discussion. So I will be supporting this resolution and would encourage our chair and vice chair to make sure we have that conversation sometime this year. Would be great. Anyone else? If not, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say some things, but instead of that, if you could all just rewind and rewatch what Stan said, I think that was extremely moving, and I want to thank him for that.
And I'll second Charlie.
I think we all agree with that. So I will roll call this, starting with Councilmember Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Penfold.
Yes.
Councilmember Kitchen.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendenhall.
Yeah.
Councilmember Luke.
Yes.
And I am a yes. It is unanimous, and we can't clap. We can't clap, but you can, yeah, do air claps. Yeah, good.
Have a secret.
Okay. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will move to our next public hearing, which is about a zoning map amendment for 1196 South, 700 West. And those of you who'd love to stay for this, I know, but some of you probably want to go. And this is an ordinance amending the zoning map for parcels located at approximately 1196 South, 700 West, and 1197 South, 800 West Street, and 1203 South and 800 West Street. Yeah. Can I ask those of you who are here to please go in the hall so that we can be heard? Thank you so much. If you want to have a conversation out in the hall, that'd be great. Okay. Thanks. And I'm saving that. Yeah. The proposal would allow a developer to build 18 twin home units on individual lots with a private street running through the center of the property. The intended development would not be allowed under current zoning, although the applicant has requested that the properties be rezoned from R1-7000 to SR3. Consideration may be given to rezoning the properties to another zoning district with similar characteristics. And we do not have any cards on this, as far as I know. Does anyone want to speak to this? You can't hear me. Okay. This is item number 2 on the public hearing about the rezoning, the zoning map amendment to 1196 South, 700 West. And I have no cards for speaking on this.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move we close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
There's been a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Luke to close the public hearing and defer to a later meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we will move to item number 3 for our public hearing, and this is the Park Strip Landscaping Zoning Text Amendment. And this is an amendment, an ordinance amending city code relating to landscaping requirements. The proposed changes are intended to address the health of street trees and height limits for both plants and structures in park strips.
Madam,
yes.
Oh, sorry, you have.
And if you would like to comment on this, raise your hand and we'll make sure you get an orange card. First person we will hear from is Scott Rosenbush, followed by George Chapman.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Thank you for your time tonight. I'll try to be brief. My understanding of this change is to make improvements to, in particular, plantings in park strips. I think it's obvious to most of us that the critical part of the park strips are those closest to intersections where plantings and other objects in the park strips have a tendency to block the view at an intersection, which is clearly a safety issue. I would agree with that. What I would ask you to do, however, is to consider limiting or creating a distance where you limit what can or can't be put in the park strip to some certain distance from an intersection. So somebody living in the middle of a block would not be bound by those same regulations that should apply for safety reasons at the intersections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chapman.
I'm George Chapman, and I agree with Scott. You have a limit of 36 inches in the middle of the block, 22 inches at the corners. The corners make sense, but 36 inches, I need to tell you something secret. They park cars on the street. That's the visibility issue. So why are you putting a 36-inch height limit on a park strip plant? The poor plants can't defend themselves. Get rid of the 36-inch limit. Just worry about the corners for visibility. That makes sense. I know you're trying to do low water plants, but this idea that everything we plant on a park strip has to go through the city is ridiculous. People aren't dumb. They're going to try and decrease the watering requirements. All you're doing is encouraging the city to hire a whole bunch more people to tell them whether or not they can put roses on the park strip. No, I'm serious. If you want to put a rose on a park strip, you have to get the zoning administrator approval. It doesn't make sense. You also are still ignoring power lines, and 33% turf or plants requirement doesn't make sense either. If you really want to save water, they need to be watered to take root. You may have to water them for a year or two. So it doesn't make sense to do that. Let the homeowners decide. And anybody with half an acre has to put in a water meter. That doesn't make sense either, because there are a lot of homes with large yards. And again, the biggest issue is the height limit, and everything we plant on the park strip has to go to the city. The city has to approve the plans. Come on. That doesn't make sense. You're building up city employees to do make-work projects. It doesn't make sense. I'm asking you to hold off on this.
Time.
Have some more work on it, please.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the parking strip issue? Seeing no one, I will look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move the council continue, we close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, seconded by Councilmember Penfold. Thank you. We'll now move to item. Yeah.
Do we need to vote?
Yes, thank you. Oh, yes. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Sorry, just trying to move us along. We are on item number 4, the 1700 South West Temple Majestic Meats zoning map amendment. And this is an ordinance amending the zoning map pertaining to properties located at 115 West 1700 South and 1710 South West Temple to rezone those parcels from CB Community Business District to RMU 45 Mixed Use District. The proposed change is intended to make the property more marketable so the current owners can relocate their business. The applicant has requested properties not have specific zoning, but consideration for other options with similar characteristics will be given. And I have a couple of cards here. We will hear first from Raymond. And can I ask our staff, when we do the cards next time, could we not have the picture of the city and county building right where everyone writes their last name? I cannot read your name. So will you please come forward and tell us your name? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I'm Raymond Zaylett, owner of Majestic Meat, and we're passing. We're the ones that are proposing to try to get a zoning change. We're a small business that's been in the same location for many years, and we need to expand. But it's not being able to happen on this property the way it's zoned now. So we've opted to move, and having this rezoning is the best option for us to make survive the company. So that's why we're asking for the rezoning.
Thank you very much. Jesse Burt, followed by Rick Butterfield, I think.
Hi, I'm one of the original owners of Majestic Meat. We opened it in 1970. I had two other partners, and then we, one of them got out in 75, the other in about 90. But we were a state, federal inspected, and now we're federal, and we need to get bigger. I sold it to Zaylet, my daughter, and Raymond Zaylet, like in 2005, and they are just outgrowing it. We have a state or federal inspector now, and we're just hoping that you know, we could come up with a RMU 45 zoning, because I bought the property, we bought the house next door to it. We own over an acre, and the original plan was someday to build a bigger meat company there. And anyway, I guess we have to move on, so appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Rick Butterfield.
Thank you. As a neighbor property owner, I'm in favor of supporting Ray. There's a lot of property there on 17th and West Temple that needs to be improved. When we're having things like this that will actually speed that up, I would support this action, as well as help a business owner continue to grow his business. But there's a lot of things in that area that needs to be taken down and redone, rebuilt, and this is one of those moves that will help that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this matter? And I will look for a motion. Yes.
I move we close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
There is a motion by Council Member Mendenhall, seconded by Council Member Johnston. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. The motion carries. Number 5 of our public hearing, citywide business zone, business park rezone. And I have one card for this from Michelle. And if I could ask Michelle to come forward. Don't think that's Michelle, but you never know. Then I will read this, and then we will look for a motion. This is an ordinance that would amend the city's zoning ordinance pertaining to open space requirements in the business park zoning district. Would reduce the minimum open space requirement from 30% to 15%. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we suspend the rules and adopt.
Second.
There is a motion to suspend the rules and adopt by a motion by Councilmember Rogers.
Madam Chair, just for continuity, could we include a motion to close the public hearing
Yes.
and suspend the rules and adopt it?
Would you like to?
Yes.
Is that a friendly amendment?
Okay.
And I still accept
Second
that.
that.
Great.
Yeah.
So there's a motion to close the public hearing and suspend the rules and adopt by Councilmember Rogers, seconded by Councilmember Luke. All in favor?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I think we're going to pass this in just a second, and I hope that we'll consider this part of our progress on economic development and making it easier to work with and build in Salt Lake City.
Thank you, Councilmember Mendenhall. Councilmember Penfold?
And Madam Chair, I would like to echo that. I'm going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. This was really an opportunity for the council to be very responsive to some desires in the business community, and we worked quickly through a very agreeable process that everybody's on board with. So I'm hopeful that we can do more of that.
All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Now we move to items 6 through 13, and this will be held as one public hearing, and I'll just quickly read through the titles for these. It is the grant application submission for racial equality here, the grant application submission for What Works Cities, the grant application submission from the Tesoro Foundation, the grant application submission for Camp Athena, the grant application submission for the Utah Bureau of Emergency Medical Services, the grant application for Justice Court Technology, the grant application for Fresh, Local, and Equitable, the grant application for Fix the Bricks Education Campaign. And I have some cards if you want to speak on any of these grant application submissions. Let our council staff know. We will begin by hearing from Al Khalife and then by George Chapman.
Good evening to everyone. It's an honor to be able to speak before Power tonight, and I applaud the mayor for her ambitious and very enthusiastic plans for the city. Let me take these off here. By prioritizing something called racial equality. And as an action plan, it shouldn't be just something that is marketed. Racial equality should be a part of Salt Lake City. As I can see before me, I don't see very much diversity, so I would hope that racial equity would take some form. Let's consider a grant in the name of transparency. Let's consider a grant in the name of accountability. Speaking of racial equality, Black Lives Matter. Why would some people have a movement called that if they felt as though they didn't matter? Let me share a few words recently released by our honorable mayor. I have complete confidence in the Unified Police Department, who is leading the investigation, and DA Sim Gill, who will make an ultimate decision in this incident. I have asked SLCPD to release as much information to the public as possible without compromising the integrity of this investigation. What am I speaking about? Of course, I'm speaking of the February 27th incident involving a shooting of an African named Abdullahi, which means servant of God in Arabic. Such overtures are being used to sidestep the issue of enacting policing reform and CRB overhauling that's needed. Your ambitious attempts to further attract more corporations and tourism are not the answer for an infected wound. And so I ask you, therefore, not to rely on an ex-FBI agent at the helm of what is supposed to be an accountable and transparent mechanism for justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chapman.
I'm disappointed to hear that you're even thinking about giving $750,000 to What Works Cities. It might be a great idea, except we have a lot of community councils that are begging for money to publicize their meetings and encourage public engagement. If we really want to encourage public engagement, that's where the money should go, to the community councils. Aaron, you know, in our area, we only got one newsletter, I think, last year. They need money to put out more newsletters, obviously. Avenues Greater Avenues does a great job with their newsletter. But no other area that I know of, no other community council does as good a job. They need money to put their mailings out. Poplar Grove, Glendale, Rose Park, Fair Park. We need more money to get people to these meetings, to encourage public engagement. Not to give to a separate entity, but for Salt Lake City to encourage people to work through the community councils. So I'm actually asking you not to give any money to What Works Cities. Give the money, give some money to the community councils. They need it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak to this? Then I will look for a motion for items B6 through B13.
I move that we close this public hearing and defer action to a future date.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold, seconded by Councilmember Luke, to close the public hearing and defer action to a later date. All in favor?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a clarification for the grant application items B6 through B13. Is that correct, Stan? Okay.
Right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now to item C on our agenda, potential action items, and we're looking to have changes to various boards, commissions, operations, and this is an ordinance amending certain sections of the Salt Lake City Code to provide additional clarity and efficiency in land use regulation. It's fine-tuning of the city code related to public hearings and the operations of various boards and commissions. Is there...
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Is there any discussion? There is a motion to adopt the ordinance by Councilmember Penfold, seconded by Councilmember Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There's a legislative action associated with that one that was requested by a couple of the council members. Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm happy to make this motion for legislative action. I further move that the council adopt a legislative action requesting the administration review the city's noticing requirements related to land use issues in an effort to improve transparency and community engagement. Am I on the right one, Cindy? I am, right?
Yes.
Okay. The council is interested in reviewing appropriate early notification standards to ensure that the neighborhoods around proposed projects are afforded adequate notification and have sufficient time to provide feedback. The review should consider ways to improve notification and participation at community council meetings and open houses, while balancing the needs of the applicants to have a timely review process.
So there is a motion
Second.
that has been made that also includes the legislative action. Now.
May I speak to that?
Yes, you may.
Madam Chair, there's just been a little bit of confusion sometimes on the part of neighborhoods as to the intent of the city, in particular where notification or an application crosses several community council boundaries, and sometimes we have a public open house around that, and sometimes we actually go to community councils, and I just am encouraging the administration to develop some consistency that we can put into ordinance form so that people have an understanding. And I think that's come up in a couple of recent hearings of the Planning Commission where people were concerned that we may have not provided adequate notice. I think our legal interpretation is that we have, but we just want to make sure we're consistent in our messaging. So I think you understand what we're getting. Thank you.
So do I need to have them remake the motion, or are we okay to vote on it?
You just vote.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion as made, including legislative action?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We are now on to C2, the budget amendment number 3 for fiscal year 2015-16. Proposed amendments to the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2015-16. Is there a motion?
Sure. I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2015-2016, as follows. A, approving the items included in the original budget amendment, transmittal with changes identified by the council and listed on the attached budget schedule.
Is there a second?
Second.
I second, but I'd like, and if there's a second, I'd like just a clarification.
Okay.
Do we want to do these separately? And I'm okay if we want to do these separately, or do we want to do them all as one motion?
It calls for separate, I think, in the
And I'm okay with that.
in the motion sheet.
So we are approving them one by one? Okay. So the first item, sorry, I was not given what I really needed to have with this, but
You're doing great, Lisa.
Jennifer, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Jennifer tells me that you don't need to read them one by one. I can see that it's a little confusing here. You don't need to. It appears that you do, but you don't.
So should I continue on with the original, or amend the...
I have a question, because Councilmember Penfold mentioned the cost of the honorary renaming street signs may be covered by a donation? Is
And
this a refund?
actually, I brought this up, and the reason we're leaving it in this budget is because even if it's covered by a donation, we'll have to accept and then expend the dollars. And so we'll need to accept that money and then expend it from the city side. The estimate's $7,000. Equality has assured us that they'll raise that money, but it still makes sense as a budget amendment because it will be an expenditure that's not in the current budget. Does that make sense?
It does.
Is there any desire to consider any of these separately? Okay, then, the motion as made by Councilmember Johnston and seconded by Councilmember Rogers is to adopt the the final budget of Salt Lake City, including the staffing document for fiscal year 2015-16. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. We are now...
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Did we want to consider the second motion, the separate motion?
Third, too.
On G12?
Item number 2 and 3?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion
Hang
there.
on. We're on G? I'm on...
Same motion sheet, item 2 and 3.
Okay.
On the back there.
Okay, thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I'd move that the council adopt the following item G12, which is a partial resubmittal of State of Utah CCJJ Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice Jurisdictions with Halfway Houses and Parole Violator Centers grant.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, seconded by Councilmember Penfold, to adopt the resubmittal of the State of Utah CCJJ jurisdictions with Halfway Houses and Parole Violator Center grant, made by Councilmember Mendenhall, seconded by Councilmember Penfold. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, I should have asked if there was discussion. Okay, then, number 3, we...
Want to continue?
On the motion sheet? Okay.
I further move the council communicate support to the administration for the following approach to Glendale golf carts. Analysis from administration provided on the attached.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Which option?
Option 2.
Option 2.
Option 2.
Excuse
okay.
me.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Penfold, about the Glendale golf carts recommended to finance the purchase of golf carts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Nay.
2 opposed, 5 in favor.
Am I too? Oh, you were nay also.
Yeah.
All right.
Councilmember Mendenhall and Councilmember Adams are opposed. Okay, any further, I guess no further discussion because we voted. Ha. Okay. Now are we back onto the regular agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure we've got, we are at item D on our agenda, and we begin with D1, questions to the mayor from the city council, but that would be questions to Patrick Leary, the chief of staff.
This was her time to shine. Maybe we should have David come up and take her spot.
Are there any questions for the mayor from the council?
I like the way Patrick's shining, actually, so I don't have any questions.
Okay, then this would be time for general comments to the city council. And I'd remind you that if you have, this is the perfect time to say something. If you've spoken in the public hearing earlier, you can speak in the general hearing, whatever. So we'll do it the same way. Remind you again to show respect, no clapping or cheering, and make sure if you have signs that people can see around you. And we will begin with Jacob Jensen, who will be followed by Cindy Cromer. Oh, and you may not bring signs with you when you come up to speak. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. I'd first like to take a small amount of time to think about Abdi Mohammed, who was recently found to be shot in the spine by the thus far unnamed police officer. So I'll take a few seconds of my time to think about that. Tonight I stand before the City Council for the 4th time. I was handed a yellow card to cover general commentary, and I look forward to the day that I'm not handed a yellow card for this issue. Anti-police brutality groups have yet to be contacted by anybody in the council. Such signs show us that the council is not, well, what signs it's showing us is that they're not very serious about these efforts. I beseech the council to think on institutional solutions to systemic problems. There are not 50 people here like there were before, but another killing is just around the corner. And we will grow each time. We're not going away. The CRB is a failed experiment. It does nothing to check the police's power. It's still the police policing the police. I'll just end with this thought, which is that we need community control now. We need a community-controlled, democratically elected police review board. We need the power to subpoena evidence, the ability to change police policy, which solely resides, or mostly solely resides, with the police and probably with the office of the mayor. I'm not a lawyer on that. We need the ability to compel legal charges from people like Sem Gill or other prosecutors that are the purview of the city. And we need the staff to investigate and deliberate responsibly, which includes legal counsel. And I'd also like to add perhaps an ethicist. And that's my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Cindy Cromer, followed by Hillary Jacobs.
Hi, my name is Cindy Cromer. There's a copy of my remarks, actually more extensive than my remarks, coming for everybody, including the mayor. If you could take one to her, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. As I said, my name is Cindy Cromer. I own properties in the Central City and Avenues historic districts, and I also own other properties in the city's National Register district. I am heavily invested in historic preservation. Currently, there are 3 proposed upzones in the city's historic districts. As you might expect, they are in Districts 3 and 4 in Central City and the South Temple Historic Districts. And I've listed the specifics of those proposed upzones for you after that. By the administration's acknowledgement, 2 of the proposals involve amendments to adopted master plans. I would argue that all 3 of them are master plan amendments. These proposals are in different stages in the process, all still on the administration's side of government. When they reach your office, not a single one of them will have been reviewed or discussed with the Landmarks Commission, even though the Landmarks Commission will be the decision maker on setbacks, height and mass and scale within the historic districts. You will not receive any input from the Landmarks Commission about the feasibility of the proposed changes in zoning. I've outlined 5 things that happen when you leave landmarks out of the process. I consider all of them substantive and serious. Another thing that happens when you leave landmarks out of the process is that I spend a great deal of time running interference, which is precisely what I'm doing now. I don't expect you to do anything at this point. While you're concentrating on the budget, I will be doing everything I can think of except ride a white horse naked on South Temple to get the Landmarks Commission included in the process up front. If I'm not successful, I will be back in front of you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Hillary Jacobs, followed by Ian Decker.
Hi, my topic was quite different from the ones you've heard before. I'm here to ask you to designate the Avenues Shoreline Trail to be an official off-leash area. And the need is very great. This is the area that's north of 18th Avenue and west of City Creek Canyon, going up to about the ridge and then going east. The need is really greater than in the past because the designated off-leash area in our area, which is Memory Grove, is no longer usable or even an option for my own dog. On April 1st, an application was submitted, or April 1st of 2015, an application was submitted to request that the Avenue Shoreline Trail be a targeted or designated off-leash area. Code designates that the applications need to be considered in a reasonable time frame. I'm not sure how long that is, but it's now been over 13 months since that petition was submitted. In addition, in October 2015, which I think was around October 20th, in an afternoon briefing, you asked Rick Graham with the Public Services to move forward and designate the Shoreline Trail as an off-leash area. Please do this as soon as possible and get rid of Resolution 52 so that the trail can be an off-leash area sooner than later. You may be wondering why I can no longer take my dog to Memory Grove after enjoying it for over 20 years with my dogs. As you all know, the Grove has become home to many, many homeless individuals. Fortunately, Mayor Biskupski is trying to address this problem, but while solutions are found, this beautiful area will continue to attract campers. All of the camps come with refuse, and the refuse includes human excrement, which my dog consumes. And he actually consumed human feces twice in less than a 3-week period. The second time, a homeless woman was at the side of the creek cleaning herself after leaving a fresh pile that my dog found. You can, I am sure, imagine how disgusting this is. Many people use the off-leash area, including many children, and the feces are a huge public health hazard. Okay, just one second. In addition, the obvious reasons for disease, the feces must certainly contain drugs, street and prescription drugs and alcohol. Whatever, when he eats it, he becomes entirely sick, and the next day it's quite dreadful to clean up after him. He's a very sweet, friendly dog, but I have to ask people not to pet him after he's been into this because it's not nice to get human feces on your clean clothes. And until there's a solution for this homeless population, I would hope that you would let the Avenues Shoreline Trail become our new off-leash area and designate this as soon as possible.
Your time has expired.
And one last thing, maybe you could consider putting some porta potties on the Memory Grove Road until another solution has been found. Thanks.
Thank you. Lex Scott, now you've got the right color, and followed by Sean Taylor. I apologize. You're right, Ian. You're up, and then Lex.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Decker. I'm with the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. I think I'd like to start by applauding the City Council's efforts to applaud fighters for people's right to live with dignity without fear of being killed for who they are, live without fear of being discriminated against, like Harvey Milk was discriminated against. I think that we should follow this example, and we should move towards adopting a resolution making it so that people who are discriminated against by the police have an idea that they have actual agency in this state and in this city. We need to adopt a resolution that, we need to adopt a system that would allow people to democratically control the police that patrol their neighborhoods and wield lethal force and often, and all too often, shoot, kill, or maim innocent people. We need to move to have a system where there aren't Abdi Muhammads who are probably going to be paralyzed the rest of their life because the police decide that they're going to go out and that they're going to go and mess with some homeless kid. We need a system where the police don't decide to go out and shoot someone because they're a little bit too brown and they think that they might be a criminal. I think that it's really important to say, as the person before me said, is that all these, it's easy to see how every time we're handed a yellow card, we're not taken seriously. It feels like we're in here for general comments. We're going to keep on coming back. We're going to keep on. Truthfully, if this persists, it would be very easy to say that it will be hard to find public events for campaigns, for whatever, that aren't interrupted, where you have a moment of peace to conduct political business publicly without facing us, without facing an angry crowd, without facing people who are tired of watching people shot in the streets by the police who are supposed to be protecting us. Thank you.
Thank you. Lex Scott, followed by Sean Taylor.
Please don't take photographs of me, media. Hi, I'm Lex Scott. I'm one of the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement. We're going to have a busy summer this summer. I look at this white panel in this white room full of white people with our white police force and our white mayor, and I grew up in white Salt Lake City, Utah, on the east side, and I attended private schools, and I know how comfy you feel in your whiteness. It's comfortable to you, and I know that this police brutality problem is not something that you are focused on. I will come here, I will ask Mayor Biskupski, who's not my biggest fan, who left to please help create a civilian review board. And I would ask that the City Council actually care about the police brutality that is happening to the homeless population here, and try to address that. The Black Lives Matter movement is going to have a very busy summer. I tried to speak to you about this. I hope you address it, because as you've seen, I will go above you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sean Taylor, followed by Nick Godfrey.
Hello, I'm the Vice President of Students for Democratic Society. I'm here to add my voice to the many in support of a community control police review board. As it stands, the police can shoot and kill with impunity. It is imperative to establish a democratically elected board, not because it could be you or your children in danger. It is imperative because black people, people of color, and the homeless are terrorized by the police on a nightly and daily basis. Earlier in this hearing, you chose to honor someone who fought for equality and justice. I hope you will use your power to stand up and fight against the injustices perpetuated by the police by establishing a community police review board. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Godfrey, followed by Polly Hart.
Thank you for hearing us again. My name is Nick Godfrey. I'm a member of Utah Against Police Brutality. And I really don't have anything to say that hasn't been said tonight or that wasn't said last week by myself and others. But as I hope we've made clear, we are going to continue to be here and to demand justice for Abdi as long as it takes. The issue of the police policing the police, I think, is clear, and we see what kind of results that gets. We are a nation that kills people by the thousands every year, executions on the street. And it's not a problem that's unique to Ferguson or Baltimore or Chicago. It's happening here as well. And we've seen cases, clear cases, of police brutality and abuse of power. We've seen young people gunned down for wandering into a 7-Eleven at the wrong time, having earbuds in and not hearing the instruction of the officers, and being cut down, executed on the street for no crime. We saw it happen a few years ago with Daniel Willard being shot by undercover officers out of uniform in an unmarked car while she was driving away from these men she didn't know wielding guns. It's absolutely clear that we need to hold the police force accountable. It's clear that we need a civilian review board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Polly Hart, followed by Douglas Cotant. And if there's anyone else who would like to speak generally, please fill out a yellow card.
Thank you, Polly Hart. Usually I come here asking for stuff, and tonight I just want to say thank you in advance for the new business that's about to happen for decriminalizing the off-leash penalty. Yay, it is time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and it's late, so I'm going to shut up and just thank you all for all of the hard work you do. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Douglas Cotant.
All right. The latest report from the Newsland is the elevator wasn't fixed this morning, and sometimes when I walk up and down those stairs, I have trouble because of my balance. That's the first thing. The second thing is this comment on page 7, toward the end. Why can't you put a comment on on the first or second agenda, and I came in here, I filled out a yellow card originally, but apparently it wasn't given to the council chair, and now I had to fill out another one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? We have another card. Thank you. William Van Wagnen.
Guess I got here just in time. Thanks for sticking around long enough. I'm sorry. I just also wanted to, I came to a meeting a couple weeks ago and just also wanted to talk again about the necessity of having an independent police review board for the cases in which people here in Utah are shot by the police in situations that aren't justified. And again, it's just a pattern across the country that I'm sure obviously you all have heard a lot about recently, that continues and continues. And that's something that, again, in Salt Lake City, we really need to make some progress on and have the police be held accountable in these instances when they're shooting people and using excessive violence. I saw a really excellent film recently called Peace Officer that was shown up at the University of Utah recently. I believe it was even accepted to the Sundance Film Festival, if I'm not wrong. And it's going to be shown pretty soon on PBS, and that documents a lot of the problems that we have right here in Utah. The entire documentary takes place in Utah and documents cases where the police used excessive violence, where they ended up killing people that they didn't need to, and where officers obviously weren't held accountable. And a lot of that has to do with the SWAT teams here in Utah that use excessive violence, that treat situations dealing with citizens here in Utah as if it's a war zone, as if they're going door to door in Iraq or in some type of a military conflict. And that's a really disturbing trend. In Utah, the problem seems to be worse than other places. You would expect the problems would be less bad here in Utah, given that we have less crime and we are living in a pretty safe state, in a pretty safe city. And despite that, there's more and more violence from the police, more and more militarization, and less justice every time somebody is shot and killed, like Darian Hunt or Danielle Willard and all these other individuals that you've heard about many, many times, I'm sure. So anyways, we appreciate your attention to this matter, and thanks again.
Thank you very much. Samantha Stott, followed by Teresa Nielsen.
Hi. I would also like to second what William said about Peace Officer film. It's great. I believe I individually emailed each of you actually before it came out and invited you. If you don't remember it, that's fine. I understand. But I also would like to say that on behalf of the Community Coalition for Police Reform, we're happy to give any advice for what we can do to set up a citizens review board that works and that the community is happy with. And we've also worked with Chief Brown, and some of our members include Dita Seed and Sharon Birkinshaw and a lot of activists around here who are really committed to that work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Teresa Nielsen, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
My name is Teresa, and I'm the president of Students for Democratic Society at the University of Utah. For the past year, my friends at Utah Against Police Brutality have been struggling for a community-controlled police review board because of the current trend of police brutality across the country, and the need for one became very apparent when Abdi Muhammad was shot. When I heard about the shooting of Abdi Muhammad by the SLCPD, I was appalled, upset, and sadly unsurprised. Yet another black boy was shot. My lack of surprise is very telling as to why we need this review board. We can no longer sit idly while police continue to attempt murder. I demand a community-controlled review board, I demand the release of the body cam footage, and I demand justice for Abdi Muhammad.
Thank you very much. It looks like a couple more people are filling out cards. Connor Richards.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak last moment.
The first thing that I want to do is just say this is my first city council meeting. I came here in support of community control, but before I talk about that, I want to say I also heard about the Harvey Milk proposal before this, and to be honest, I thought it was a long shot. And I just want to say it feels cool, and I really appreciate the board voting unanimously for that. And I think it's very exciting that the community can come together in solidarity around a figure like Harvey Milk, who's been so beneficial for the LGBT community. Police brutality, just based on the number of bodies you see in this room, is not as palatable or easy to talk about an issue, apparently, as it is renaming a street after an already acclaimed civil rights leader. But the reality is people are dying in the streets quite often. Abdi just being the most recent example. And it's a particularly horrifying example. This is a child, not a big child at that. And as a community member, it's troubling to me. And I came here as a representative of Students for a Democratic Society at the University of Utah. And I just want to say that as a member of the community, it's really important to me that even if issues like this don't have as much of a media presence or as many people supporting them, that they be taken seriously, and that people like Abdi get humanized and respected. And thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Do we have any more cards? Okay. A few more, it looks like. Thank you. Ariel Paz, followed by Robert Williams.
Good evening. My name is Ariel Paz. I'm with Utah Against Police Brutality. I have a very simple message. And I add myself to the comments that you've already heard before about police brutality in this city and the innocent people that have been needlessly killed, maimed, injured, and yeah, I did not prepare anything in particular. This is very impromptu, but it is absolutely necessary for us to, for this City Council to implement a community-controlled police review board as soon as possible, because the current civilian review board is not effective in holding police accountable for their misdeeds. And I just think that it's, like some comrades said earlier, I'm referring to comrades in the Utah Against Police Brutality group, we're not going away. We will come back as soon as, as many times as it's necessary for you to get this message and to take some action about this issue. We need a community control police review board, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Robert Williams.
Several years ago, I went to the sustainability office for Salt Lake City asking about recycling bins. Don't see them. Why don't we have them on the city block? Because they have to be in compliance with city historical zoning codes, even though we have trash bins out there. Last fall, I came back, tried it again. Said, hey, we really need recycling bins. It's the right thing to do. I was told the city council member would be informed about it. Got an email. Something's going to be done in a few months. Nothing done. I've tried it again. I'd like to see a city council member. Can't do it. They're busy. Come back another time. Salt Lake City has this website that talks about all this stuff they're doing as far as green. Where are the recycling bins on the city block? I had the The UTA bus take me down to the corner of State Street and 5th. Walked over here. Again, walked around the whole building pretty much. Did not see any public recycling bins. There should be recycling bins, especially if the city is talking about how green and sustainable they want to be. This is ridiculous. Yes, there's a recycling bin near here, but I have to go across the street at the UTA, near the UTA pickup bench for customers to get one, to use it. There should be stuff here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's not right when this city talks about all the goody-goody greeny stuff they're doing and they ain't doing it on the city block. It's also not right as far as Mother Nature. We should recycle. We should show that to people. Here are the recycling bins and set a good standard and help Mother Nature out. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I just have a quick moment of personal privilege?
Yes, you may.
Staff, would you mind getting this gentleman's information and setting up an appointment so I can meet with him? As
Sure.
well as Sustainability Department.
Sure. And as I recall, the council did fund those, so we'll double check that too.
Yeah.
Gabriella Kilpack, followed by Doug Najic.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Kilpack. I'm with Utah Against Police Brutality, and I wanted to show agreement with what everyone else has said of the necessity of having a community control review board. There have been far too many deaths in Utah, and the police have not been held accountable. The victims deserve justice, and the public has a right to see the footage of Abdi Mohammed, the body cam footage. It's been, I think, almost over a month. I think it might have been almost 2 months. And the standard for that footage being released needs to change. We need to see that as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Doug Najic.
Hello. My name is Doug Nagy. Hello to the board. I'd like to thank you earlier for your inspiring vote on behalf of Andrew Milk Boulevard. I think that was a really impressive show of concern on the behalf of the city for people who face violence in their everyday lives. And I mean, hopefully I'm not the last up here to say it because I'm not the most eloquent speaker by any means, but I just wanted to add my voice to the chorus of people calling for a community-controlled police review board. I'm a resident of Salt Lake City, over by Rose Park. I live, I think, about 4 or 5 blocks from where Abdi Mohammed was shot. I think much of what can be said has been said, that people deserve justice and an outlet of democratic control over the people who are supposed to be policing us. I would just like to add one thing that I'm not sure anyone else has said, that I don't think there's anything to fear from a police review board. They will not be judge, jury, and executioner. This is a board to determine just how much validity there is in claims of police brutality, and police will still go through the court system that they so well understand and will have people on their side. And if you believe in our justice system, then you can certainly believe that it'll work for police under accusations of police brutality. And yeah, I'd just like to thank the board for listening.
Thank you very much. Ian Harris.
Thank you all for staying so late for all of us and hearing us out. I just want to show concern about our police force along with everyone else here. After the march for Abdi that went to the city public service, public safety building, I heard some people talking about it and asking if we were proud of what we did there, shutting down downtown for a few minutes. And I think it's a mixed emotion for all of us, that we're proud of all the numbers that show up and proud that it's a movement at some point, but it's also confusing and upsetting that we have to be here, that it's so hard to convince people that continuity and redundancy in how we bring justice to people and how we find fault and peace and everything in our city. It shouldn't be such a hard fight. There shouldn't be protests, and we shouldn't be afraid. It's appalling and scary and sad to see how many homeless people are affected by the police in ways they don't deserve, and just everyone. It should be an issue that everyone's concerned about. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Joseph Brandon?
Thank you, council members, for letting me speak this evening. My name's Joey Brandon. I'd like to commend you all for recent actions taken on naming a street. However, I would like to point out that it is something to be said about civil rights in 2016 in Salt Lake City, that the best thing we're doing is naming a street. I would like you to all ask yourselves what Harvey Milk might have done. Make some history. Community control now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the City Council this evening? Okay, can I thank all of you who participated this evening, and thank you for the respectful way you've managed when these are difficult and volatile issues. It's heartening to have people attend and be respectful, and we appreciate that. We're now on to item E on our agenda, E1. This is with reference to new business and board member rules amendments. It's an ordinance amending and enacting city board appointment rules. Proposed amendments detail additional criteria for board appointments, including individuals who should only serve on one city board at a time. Equal opportunity principles should be applied when making appointments, and employees of Salt Lake City Corporation shall not be eligible for membership on city boards. Spouses and family members of city employees may be considered. This proposed amendment would simply codify in ordinance criteria that has been outlined in the council member manual policy for many years. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move
Yes.
we adopt the ordinance amending city board appointment rules.
Second.
There's a motion by Council Member Rogers and a second by Council Member Penfold. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Madam Chair, I'm not trying to rush you, but on number 2, I'm so excited I can hardly stand it. I'd like to.
You're wagging your tail?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the issuance of that we revoke the issuance of misdemeanor offenses related to a dog off leash by adopting the ordinance change.
See, I'm so excited. I just jumped in
the gun.
second.
Third.
I'm going to fourth it.
There is a motion by Council Member Penfold, a host of seconds, but we'll take Council Member Luke's second on amending the issuance of misdemeanor offenses related to dogs off leash. So dog owners will no longer be criminals in our city for owning a dog. May I have a vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much. We're now on to item F, unfinished business, and we will consider Salt Lake City Sales and Excise Tax Revenue Refunding Bond Series 2016A. And should I read all the language for it appropriately? Okay. This is a resolution authorizing the issuance and the sale of sales and excise tax revenue refunding bonds. We will be considering adopting a resolution authorizing up to $26 million of sales and excise tax revenue refunding bonds, delegating authority to certain officials and officers to approve the final terms of such bonds, and providing for related matters. Assuming interest rates remain at current levels, refinancing these bonds would save approximately $2 million over the life of the bonds.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the resolution.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Rogers.
And Madam Chair, before we vote, if I may just acknowledge the hard work of all of the city staff regarding looking for opportunities to save us money by refinancing. I really appreciate their work.
And I think we would all second that. Thank you very much, staff. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We have nothing on the consent agenda. Then we will stand adjourned. Thank you.